sitting in circle, remember we were talking about community and relationship. When we're talking about guidelines, you want to open your circle and say, does everyone agree with these guidelines, or is there something we would like to add?
Restorative practices are a set of practices that is solely focused on relationship building and maintaining relationships so that we can have a positive community.
We want to give students space to share their voice and to tell us about what they need in their circle as we work to build relationships with students.
My name is Clara Elliott, and I'm a restorative practitioner. I serve as the coordinator of the Restorative Practices department here in Fort Worth ISD.
Hi, my name is Portia Nickerson, and I'm an equity specialist in Fort Worth ISD.
One of our tenets is that humans have a deep desire and are driven for connection. So a lot of our work is done not just community building, also repairing harm. So a lot of times, especially in the school system, we have disproportionality with our African American students, both boys and girls, and a lot of our students of color. So the district decided, instead of using the traditional zero tolerance model where we feed the school to prison pipeline, that maybe we should reframe the way we look at things.
We use restorative practices to reduce suspensions, and we want students to feel included in the learning environment. Our goal is to give them the opportunity to voice about their needs, to voice about any harm that has occurred, and to be thought partners in the processes of creating those safe and supportive spaces for our students.
Restorative practices teaches us and guides us to look at the relationship. Does the harm occur to the relationship? And if so, how do we repair that harm? Based on the indigenous principles that we study and that we use to guide our practices, we don't put a person out of the community. We work to repair the harm and repair that relationship, because the relationship is the crux of our work. Building that relationship, maintaining that relationship, because we know that if people are in relationship with one another, it's easier to go along, to get along, and to fix anything that happens. So if someone violates me, if I'm in relationship with them, I've spent time getting to know them, I might see past their action and see their heart and see their intention. But the practices work that we come together and we all have a say, and there's meaningful accountability. And speaking of that accountability, a lot of times I hear people say, oh, restorative practices, is that where you just send the kids to the office and they come back, you know, after having a snack and some candy, they come back to my class? And it can look that way, it could look like it's soft, but one thing that we do drive home is that meaningful accountability. You know, did you feel remorse? Did you hear the other person that you harmed? Was everybody's voices, was there an equity of voices shared? And what did you do to make those things right? So it's not just coming together for the purpose of sitting in a circle or for talking, but it's to acknowledge that something happened that we need to fix, but just like it happened while we were together, we can fix it as a community. And just keeping those relationships at the forefront of our practices, that's really what drives our work. What I like to say is that circles are our bread and butter, and it looks kind of like a therapy session or you're going to counseling. And although circles can be very therapeutic, the purpose is not for therapy. It's just simply to share. And sitting in a circle, there's no hierarchy. There's a person that we call the circle keeper that basically guides the circle and reminds us that, you know, we're here for a certain purpose, and they might ask the questions. We use a talking piece, again, for equity of voice. So when you have the talking piece, it could be a stuffed animal or a bottle of hand sanitizer or a cell phone, whatever you choose. Usually we ask that it's something sentimental to the community that's in the circle, but you pass that to your right or your left so that everybody knows when to talk And also, it lets you focus on the speaker and really hear what they have to say, because you know that they're holding that talking piece. When we're talking about circles, there's several different types of circles that can be facilitated with a group, and it can be students, adults, community members, a mix of any of those people. And what we do mainly is called getting to know you or community building circles. And that's where you ask your fun, lighthearted questions. A lot of times I'll give students a Post-it at the door and ask them to make up a fun question. And a lot of students like the would you rather questions. Would you rather come to school every day and get an hour nap, or have free lunch every day, right? And it kind of motivates them to start thinking outside the box. Another type of circle that I like to do is called an academic circle. And that might be where you come to your 8th grade math class and you have taught them a really difficult concept and given them maybe a project. You could process some of their thinking in that circle. So you could come to circle and your prompt could be, tell me what were some of your challenges or some of your greatest accomplishments while doing this project, or what are some unanswered questions. And another type of circle is what we called a harm repair circle, and that's where some sort of conflict has happened. The entire restorative process is voluntary. We invite people to come to circle. Everything is an invitation, not a directive. So if we're talking about a harm repair circle and the person that's harmed and the person that did the harm, they have to agree to come to the circle and agree that they're going to use this process to work out their problems. So once you have established that agreement, you do a little pre-work, kind of investigating what happened and letting everyone know what happens in circle. You come together.
We want to give people the space to tell us about what they need, to tell us about themselves. We want to give space to get to know one another and build connections and relationships. One of the goals of restorative practices is to create safe and supportive spaces for our students, which are also equitable practices. These practices can be used with adults to give voice to those who might otherwise be silenced.
And again, like those indigenous practices, we don't put people out, we bring them together. We call them in so that we can work together to repair the harm.
Hopefully, we will soon attain that goal of being this inclusive environment.